What is going on? It is Mike, aka Zookëper here. I got another quick tutorial, hopefully quick, on what I think is like the best way of sort of doing like a last check to make sure that your kick and your bass and your low end in general are just like balanced in a way where your room isn't messing with you. It's almost a visual thing. You could almost do this on mute, actually. Let's say you're on an airplane or you're on a train or a bus or something, and all you have is headphones. Dialing in the low end is like the hardest thing, or let's say the most important thing, probably. We all know that, especially anybody who DJs. We all know the feeling of like making something we think slaps and then going and playing a show, and it just sounds absolutely not right on the system. So this tip, in my opinion, kind of takes a lot of the guesswork out of that and gets you a lot closer to those the balance that people who are big producers having big songs are achieving in their mixes. So I'm doing this in Cubase. This is again like the last tutorial. It's the same principle in Ableton, Logic, whatever. None of this is like native Cubase stuff. And what we're going to be utilizing is this free plugin called loudness meter. And we'll get into it, but let's just start right now. So what I'm starting with right here is I have drums from another one of my songs that are already mixed. You can hear the loop here. Really basic, and then I just wrote like a really quick bass line here, so that you can hear that here. So we got that. It's definitely a little loud. You can see my levels are peaking right now. We're going to fix all that. But the first thing we're going to do is, because this is really all about referencing, the first thing I'm going to do is like pick a track or two, hopefully in the same key. So we're in, what, F minor here? Yes. So I grabbed two tracks that I think have like really good mix downs. And also, if you're DJing, like which tracks really sound good in the clubs. This is not a good... You don't want to pull somebody's like SoundCloud bootleg remix to use as a reference for this. We're looking for like a very fat, effective mix down that you want your track to sound like. So I picked People in the Middle by Chapter and Verse and Biscuits Wait a Minute, because they're both in the same key, in the same tempo, and they are really good mix downs. So we'll hear a little bit of this one first. Really good kick and bass relationship. Same thing with the Biscuits track. Okay, that's actually very similar kind of to the bass line that I made up too, which is even better for this. So real quick routing stuff before we get into it. I'm a big proponent of not having anything on your master except for reference plugins. So what I do is I have everything go to a group channel that's my master, and then there's nothing going, and then that goes to the master. That way I can have the reference tracks going directly to the master. I know in Ableton there's a way to have your reference tracks bypass the master, but in my opinion that's not great, because you want to be able to use reference plugins on your master, on the tracks that you're referencing. So what I mean by that is, okay, if you solo my master, we've got this. And that's hitting this master channel here. So the first plugin that I have on here is, this is going to look ridiculous, but I promise it'll make sense, is a wildly low pass filter that is cutting out everything above 95 hertz. So that'll sound like this. Sounds like you're in the other room. And then the reason for that is the next plugin is this loudness meter. And this is like a really, really awesome plugin. It's free. If you just Google it, they have a pro version, but you don't need the pro version. And what I would do then is just copy these settings. Where are the settings here? Oh, here we go. So I'll just if you want to copy these settings, just pause it. I think these are the best settings for monitoring low end. And then what you can do is I just have this chain saved as like a preset. So when I get to a certain point in my project, I can load this chain. I call it like low end check, and these two things are teed up. So again, we got the low pass filter going into the Ulean loudness meter. And what we'll do first is let's solo one of these reference tracks. Let's use the Biscuits one. And let me just see also. Yeah, okay. So I have this at -4 dB, just because, you know, it's mastered. It's a fully finished mastered track, and I want to bring it down because I'm trying to match the levels of my non-mastered track to that. So take a look at what we're seeing with the Ulean when I play this. So what you can see is those big peaks right there up here that are hitting at about -6, that's the kick. And then this lower peak here is the sub. And what I've noticed over the years of doing this method is that pretty much every track that works really well in the club is going to have about 6 dBs of difference in the kick and the bass. So if we solo the chapter and verse track, let's see what that one looks like. Yeah, and you can see that it's the same thing essentially. We might be off by a hair, but it's pretty close. So what we're going to do, and the whole reason why this trick I think is sort of like foolproof is, yeah, you could almost mute. I mean, even with that low pass filter, you could barely hear anything anyway. So I could go into my track and make sure that everything below 95 hertz is looking like this, and you'd be really surprised as to like how close that gets you.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want access to the full tutorial as well as project files and many other tutorials that we have, go to www.kick-bass.com and you can sign up for our community and get access to everything. I hope to see you there.